eagle-eyed viewers, or perhaps I should say eagle-eyed, but whatever, people with a sharp notice on my dress sense will recognise that I'm typically wearing a shirt in solidarity with my two guests. People will note this is reminiscent of an HMP prison shirt, which is in fact not a prison shirt. It is a duff of St George. But back in the 80s, I remember I did a 3 in Armley. 3 days, fortunately. It was a long weekend after getting arrested at Nostra Priory. But, you know, both of you did actually do quite a long sentence, Ronnie. I remember you went to prison mid-80s, was it? You know, and did a long time.
Yeah, well, I was in prison, first of all, in the mid-70s, in 1974 and then 1975. Again, in the late 70s, and my big prison sentence was in the mid-80s. Where one of the prisons I was in was Armley, actually, for a little bit longer than the weekend, and it is the most awful place, or it was then.
Put me off for life, I've got to say. It's a dreadful place.
Yeah, I was in Armley. I think Ronnie went to prison 3 times because he couldn't get fed at home.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I used to just break a window to be locked away.
Actually, funny enough, there were some people who did that. You know, like they were a bit institutionalized and they couldn't cope on the outside. So around Christmas time, they would smash a window so they go back in.
Yeah, they did. I knew a few guys like that. Very sad. Yes, that is absolutely true. But they time it so they'd be let out again in the spring. You know, they bank on getting a sentence that length, so they'd be released when the weather was nice again.
Well, I won't bore you with my prison stories because, except to say that I was banged up with somebody who'd not seen Christmas since 1969, but had never done more than 6 months. They sort of fitted into that, and that was in 1984, so it's a long time ago.
As well as rescuing animals, a lot of animals were rescued, but you know the main idea really was to cause economic loss to businesses that were involved in animal oppression, to actually force them to stop. And so in doing that, people became involved in activities that were against the law, and those people ended up being arrested and put in prison, really in large numbers. I mean, there was at one stage there were I think several hundred ALF activists in prison at the same time. So it was kind of the approach to campaigning that led to that, I think.
I think it's fair to say, I mean, Roger, you were, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Ronnie, you helped found the ALF, the Animal Liberation Front, or indeed were the founder. And Roger, you were the press, you do the media, I think. And is it fair to say that the media really jumped on some of those aspects and sort of blew them up and turned a lot of public opinion against rights?
Not just the media, but the movement as well, in the sense that things did change. I mean, first of all, what we've got to say from a kind of critical criminological point of view, if you like, is that the criminalization of acts is very political and ideological. And so some of the things that you get arrested for and put in prison for are kind of not as bad and are quite moral acts compared with some of the other things that kind of go on. So there is that. And then we had the issue, as Ronnie said, that there was a lot of other animals being rescued, and that was very popular with the press. You know, the iconic picture of an activist in a balaclava holding a beagle as they came out of a laboratory, for example, that was very popular. And then the homes dried up to some degree, and so the activists turned to what they call economic sabotage, which was damaging stuff in order to take the profit away from the animal use industries. And so once you started doing that, the media could then start labeling you as vandals, and even it got to the stage where they were saying things like terrorists and stuff. And so that started to happen, and a lot of the moderate groups felt very under stress to join in, really, because they had to keep their respectable image. And so there's a lot of kind of into kind of movement politics going on as well, to be honest.